I'm Kasper Daems. I am the account manager and brand strategist at Alphabetical. I studied business communications, so it's kind of related. There was marketing and communications in there. So I did that, and I worked after university I started marketing in the marketing department for Rafa, which is a sportswear brand. Then did that for about 2.5 years, 3 years. And then one of the founders from Rafa started up his own agency. So about half a year after he started that, I joined there. Did that for a few years, and now I've been here for the last 1.5 years. Good question. Bit of jack of all trades. So it's the account management part is working with the rest of the team, setting up the projects when they come in. I'm mainly in charge of creating proposals for everything. So getting that together, working out how the project is going to run, because that changes per project. Like different briefs require a different approach, and then set up a schedule and just work with the team to get everything delivered. From the very, very start, like going to the client, talking to the client about taking a brief, asking questions that haven't usually been addressed in the brief, and just figuring everything out, and all the way down to delivery and the final invoice. And then, so that's the account management side, and then the brand strategist side. It's not on every project. It kind of gets brought in if project requires it. But again, it's talking to the client to start with, figuring out what's required, and how to address their requirement. And we then go into a creative process about figuring out the strategy, working with the rest of the team. Again, there's very collaborative. Added to that I'm not full-time, like my requirement kind of shifts with the demand for the work. So that means that especially Bob and Tommy have got the day-to-day contact with the client, and I'm very much in a I don't want to say oversight role, but oversight role within that. So it's very adaptive to working around that, and just making sure that they're supported and they've got, don't have too much on their plates, and can just get the work delivered as well. Devil's advocate, it's quite analytical process from my point of view, and especially when working with the guys, that's what I pick up on. It's very analytical, looking at the bigger picture, making sure that every possible answer and every possible input that we need is being considered. Say for a pitch we come up with 10-20 different routes, figuring out which ones are most applicable and which ones are the best. That sometimes goes down a very step back analytical approach, and just rating things out of 5. So you pick 5 areas, you come up with a score for each one of them, and then total the amount. So it's and from that it doesn't end there. It gets combined with our gut feeling and their gut feeling from a design point of view. So it's kind of those two streams that define the strategic process at the start of a project. Those 5 values that we rate it against, they get decided on the kind of requirements of the project. So they're going to be different each time. And then as a group, we go through it. Usually they're pretty even. Usually everyone's, in good agreement on where that stands. I think, again, just looking at it from another point of view, which, what I call that as being devil's advocate, I think that is quite key to a lot of these interactions. And similarly with the from the client's point of view, how they see it, and ultimately we're designing for the clients. So their stance and their viewpoint is very important to everything that gets designed. There's a lot of second guessing the brief and second guessing why something was written. So it's a lot of reading between the lines, which I tend to, that's for me, that's a very good way to distill the very crucial information. Like if you've given a brief that's a few pages, and really what you're kind of trying to do is distill it down to very little, one paragraph, two paragraphs of information, and if going through that process will give you the key, bits of information that you're looking for. And I think, well, yes, they are, but it's not always a bad thing. As long as at the start of the project you start building up a good relationship, that's part of the account kind of management process as well. But if you start building up a good relationship, getting a feel for what the client wants, talking to them about how they see their customers, that's very, very useful information, and usually a lot better information than the brief itself. It's fairly senior designer heavy in the studio, so I think it's very important with a small team, with a high turnover of work, that people understand the strategy behind it and are able to design with that in mind. Because if you don't understand that, then you're kind of just designing for the sake of it, which in my opinion doesn't give very accurate results. It becomes very subjective. The key piece of advice is to be able to have the oversight, high level oversight across a project that can run from a few weeks, 1 week sometimes on one project, and other projects can go on for months. So have that oversight, and then at the same time, at the start of the week, ideally on the Monday, go through that week with the entire team, figure out what needs doing there and then, so that you only have to think about the big picture for 1 or 2 hours, and then the rest of the week you can just focus on getting a specific something done. Like we've got a big board on the wall that has got all the projects on it, and the tasks for that week, so everyone can just look up from their computer and see, all right, I'm supposed to do this, and on Tuesday I'm working on that. So just keeping it very simple, I think is very useful. And the physicality of that board on the wall is kind of a bit more memorable than having to log into a website and 5 clicks down and you find your task for the day, which is not everyone does that.